You guys hear me okay?
Yep,
Yes, we
absolutely
can.
fine.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I want to welcome everybody and definitely say that I appreciate you guys sharing your time with us to learn a little bit more about what we're working on and how you might be able to help us grow our community and how you can benefit, potentially financially from helping us grow our community. What I'll do, if you guys think it's all right, just run through a quick demo of this platform and show everybody a little bit about, I think, the differences between ourselves and Zoom. And if you're newer into what I have kind of jumped into over the last year and a half, the blockchain technology side of the world, I'll give you a little bit of kind of my experience coming into that space. And honestly, I'm a low tech entrepreneur. I'm somebody that's not really big on learning new things. I guess maybe that's most humans, and kind of, I know what I do and what I'm good at and what my strengths are, and I kind of stay in my lane most of the time. And I understood cryptocurrency pretty early. I was fortunate. I read the Bitcoin white paper in 2010. I got some email from CNET, a tech blog, and I just liked the concept, but I was too low tech to do anything about it. I just thought it was a cool concept. Limited supply of tokens, proof of work made some sense. All I knew was I remembered when gas was 50 cents a gallon, actually a little lower than that. And it ain't anymore. I know the dollar is not what it used to be. And so it's because they print trillions of them every few years. And I felt like limited supply was a cool concept. It was 2013 when some of our companies started buying Bitcoin for the first time. So it was still pretty early, a couple $250 a coin, maybe something like that. And I've never stopped buying. My last big buy was at like 69,000 a coin. And then I bought just a few weeks ago, I bought like 10 grand worth. My friends know if they want to sell Bitcoin that I'll buy it from them, but I've never bought Bitcoin to use it. I've always bought it because I felt like it was undervalued and it was going to go up. Now, I could be wrong, it's speculative. And I could be right, I think at the end of the day. But I would say most people that bought Bitcoin or do buy Bitcoin buy it for the exact same reason that I do, is they think it's going to go up in price. And it's purely speculative. The difference between the projects that we work on is we actually have real companies that generate real revenue. And when I first saw this concept, my friend reached out to me. This was 2018, early 2018. I had a friend that had started a cryptocurrency trading software platform back in 2017 that I helped him grow. And it did very well. And he called me in 2018 and said, he's like, Tony, you got to buy these nodes for this project called Gala Games. And I said, what the heck is a node? I was like, again, I'm low tech, and he's like, Bitcoin mining, and I was like, not really. I mean, I've heard the words Bitcoin miners or whatever, but I have no clue what that even means, He goes, this is software nodes. He goes, basically, Tony, he goes, you buy this software, you put it on your computer, and this company will pay you to borrow your computer power. Well, I understood that. I said, well, how much do they pay you? And he said, well, they give you these Gala tokens. And so I said, well, how much is a Gala token worth? And he said, well, right now, this is 2018. He goes, right now, nothing. And I just said, this sounds amazing. You're gonna borrow my computer power and you're gonna give me magic internet money that's not worth anything. I said, it sounds amazing for them, not so great for me. And he goes, well, Tony, it's not worth anything now. But if people start playing these games, it could be worth quite a bit. And so long story longer, I bought $10,000 worth of nodes. And for the next 2 years, nothing happened. They were still building their games. They probably shouldn't have sold the nodes that soon. But everybody was complaining, like everybody. Even my friend was complaining. And he ended up refunding everybody that bought nodes. He didn't want people thinking he was taking advantage of them, whatever. So he just gave everybody their money back. And I actually told him, I was like, I don't need a refund. Like, I'll just keep the 10 grand in there and let's see what happens. And he says, it's easier to just push a full refund to everybody. He goes, if you really want to purchase them, call me in a couple of weeks and we'll just redo the transaction. And I said, okay. About that time, I had a restaurant delivery service, kind of like an Uber Eats or a DoorDash or Just Eat, if you're, in other countries and stuff that's around some other countries. And we were exiting. We had sold a third of that company to a company called Eat Street out of Madison, Wisconsin. And we were merging the other 2/3 of the company with a company called Delivery.com. We were in negotiations with DoorDash, Uber Eats, Amazon. Delivery.com is owned by Cantor Fitzgerald. It's one of the biggest investment banks in the world. They're on Wall Street in New York. And they made us an offer that was just amazing. And so I'm laser focused trying to get this deal to the finish line. And I wasn't playing games online or anything. So I just completely forgot to call my buddy back and didn't think much of it. About a year after that, a year goes by and I see my buddy posting on social media, like hashtag Gala Games, hashtag crypto. And so it hit me that I'd forgot to call him. So I called him back and I'm like, hey, I was like, bro, what's up with this Gala Games thing? I see you posting about it. He goes, Tony, he goes, there's millions of people playing these games. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. He goes, I started selling off some of my tokens over the last few months. And I just said, well, how much have you sold off? And he says, a little over $40 million worth. And I was like, no way. I was like, no way. And he shows me his trading. And I was like, he sold over $40 million worth. Well, it was funny. I remember I had him go back early. I was like, whoa, what was that trade? He had sold 180 million tokens at under a penny. And when we were talking, the price was around 57 cents. And I was like, dude, you could have made 100 million if you'd have just waited to sell a little bit. And he's like, yeah, I didn't feel that bad for him because he'd already sold like $40 million worth. But I asked him about another friend of ours, Wright. And I said, how did he do? He said, he's got like 4.3 billion. And then I asked the question you probably shouldn't ask. I said, if I would have called you back, how many tokens would I have right now? And he starts doing the math. He goes, it was 2020, about a year ago. He goes, till now, which was like late 21. He goes, if you sold all your tokens today, it would be like a little over $11 million worth. What's even crazier for me, probably worse for me, if I would have called him back when I was supposed to, this was over 5 years ago. As we're talking today, the nodes I would own and still have would generate $40,000 to $50,000 a month, just running them. Just it'd be like oil wells, and it's just crazy. And I watched this happen, and chalk it up as a missed opportunity. It wasn't the first. It certainly won't be the last. I'm sure there'll be other swings and misses and times where I don't realize I'm at the right place at the right time. But about a year and a half goes by into October of 2023, almost 2 years. And I had built some pretty big businesses. I had my accounting firm had just done over $10 billion in tax credit filings in our first 2 years in business, with over $2 billion in profit. And I was very busy. Thousands of employees, contractors. We had offices. I guess we do have offices, Kansas, New York, Mississippi, Ohio. It's a huge business. Over 40,000 clients, almost pretty much exclusive business clients. And my buddy that had made over $4 billion from the Gala project, they reached out to me and they wanted to share with me what they were working on in the blockchain space. Now, as busy as I was, the fact that I had watched them build a project that was the #1 performing cryptocurrency in the world in 2021, it had a market cap that peaked at like $45 billion. There were days where its market cap was higher than Tesla's. Now, it probably shouldn't have been that high, But if you owned that token and it was that valuable, you wouldn't care why it was that high. You would just care that the market cap was that high because people were giving you money for those tokens. And so when they called me, I was like, where do I need to be? You know, like as busy as I was like, I'll give you a full day. Like, where do I need to be? When do I need to be there? And I met with them in Vegas. They showed me several blockchain projects they were working on. Probably the most impressive thing to me was the people that were working on these projects. I remember they had a banking blockchain, that we do have a banking blockchain. And the CEO came in to meet with us, and I knew who she was. I own a credit card processing company that's pretty good size. And she didn't know me, but I knew her. Her name's Kathy Roberts. She was one of the original founders of Discover Card. And so she was also the first president of Discover Bank. She was like the head of the Delaware Banking Commission for a year, like one of the more respected bankers. I'll just say this. If you get cash back for using a credit card, you can thank Kathy Roberts and her executive team for that. The only reason anyone in the world gets cash back is really because of her and her team and what they created. And so I'm sitting here in 2023. The regulatory environment towards blockchain and crypto is not good. The SEC in the United States is suing everybody. They're suing Coinbase. They're suing Ripple. They're suing the Ethereum Foundation. Like everybody and anybody, they're going, and they're losing all these cases, which is kind of funny. But they were still suing everybody. And so I just said, what are you doing here, Mrs. Roberts? Like, how did they get you into blockchain? Because blockchain and banking, you know, they go together like oil and water. They don't mix, you know. And she says, Tony, I believe that blockchain technology will make everyone on planet Earth bankable within the next 5 to 10 years. And I remember when she said that, the respect level I had for her, I just felt like I better dig into this. Like, what's going on in blockchain? What is this Web3 shift that she's talking about? And as I researched, I saw the World Economic Forum had put out an article in 2021 that basically said blockchain would disrupt up to $867 trillion in traditional markets. My degree is in finance and economics. And so I'm looking at these numbers going, this is not a once in a lifetime deal here. This is a once deal. Like in history, there's never been that kind of a shift, and probably in future. I think that the only time we'll see a shift in wealth like that, and that was 2021. I've heard as recently as probably 6 months ago, 1.3 quadrillion is the estimated shift now. It will take cross-planetary economics, basically. Like if the world economy starts to shift into Mars or something like that, and we've colonized another planet, you might see a bigger shift. But I don't think the grandkids, great grandkids, double greats, triple greats are probably going to be a part of that kind of opportunity. And so I just felt like, as an entrepreneur, how do we position ourselves to take advantage of that kind of shift? If people much smarter than me, one of the more influential bankers in the world, people like Elon Musk talk about it, Bill Gates, like all these people talk about this Web3 shift, this blockchain shift, that are much more successful than me, much smarter. And I'm just sitting here going, okay, if we had a time machine and went back into the mid 90s, I don't know where you guys are at. I saw there's some Australians on. I know that. I see Lisa on. I know I've got some Floridians on, a few North Carolina on. I'm in Puerto Rico. I'm heading back to Kansas on Sunday, so I'll be in Kansas for a few weeks. But as entrepreneurs, if we had that time machine, and tonight we were in the mid 90s, early 90s, no matter where any of us are at, I would say we got to get to Silicon Valley. Like, let's get where I'll get a flight. You guys need to get flights. Let's get up to Silicon Valley. Let's go find Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. They're working on PayPal right now. Let's go to Stanford University and find Sergey Brin. He's working on Google right now. Let's see where Jeff Bezos is at. He's raising funds for Amazon. And let's pool all the money we've got and give it to these people and help them invest in their companies. Because now we know, like, they're literally going to shape the way people communicate, the way people operate online for the next several decades. And the Web3 shift, in essence, is growing faster than the internet did in the mid-90s. Blockchain tech is growing faster and getting bigger than the internet did in the early and mid-90s. And so the best way to position ourselves, I felt, was to work in projects that generated real world revenue, that generated real world utility, meaning people could use cryptocurrency, they could use tokens for real products and services. And if we could position ourselves in that line, and probably more importantly, figure out ways to make the blockchain invisible. And what I mean by that is, I kind of look at this, and I say this lovingly, but the nerds of the world, they kind of got the internet, what I would call kind of early Web 1.0, where it was just the military was using the internet, IBM, Microsoft, Apple, Steve Jobs was probably using the internet in the late 80s, early 90s. The internet protocol was that code was developed in like 1981. TCP, IP, those protocols were quite old. And it wasn't until like the mid 90s where you got Hotmail was kind of one of the first real use cases. And then all of a sudden, you get Amazon and PayPal being able to pay for things, and Google being able to get information and search. All these companies were early, what I would call Web 2 adopters. And it was entrepreneurs that started to make the internet invisible, the code. My mom, for example, doesn't know what HTML is. She doesn't know what an SSL certificate is, but she can watch her shows on Netflix. She can pay her credit card bill, check her bank statement, because the internet makes her life easier, more efficient, easier to communicate with her kids, grandkids, great grandkids. And so I look at this shift into Web3 and figure, okay, how do we position ourselves and how do we make it easy for people to come into a blockchain technology without really needing to know they're coming in? This project that we're on right now is a blockchain-based video conferencing platform. And there's really 4 areas that we're going on offense and attacking Zoom. And for me as an entrepreneur, it's really the first time I've ever attempted to pick a fight with a large cap publicly traded company. Zoom's got I think its peak market cap this year was $27 billion. Normally, I try and sell out to companies like that. I'm not trying to compete with companies like that. But not only is it the first time that through our community, we're looking to compete with a large cap publicly traded company, but if you look at a side-by-side comparison on paper, we are heavy favorites to not only compete, but to disrupt them. Similar to the way Blockbuster Video was disrupted by Netflix, completely shut them down. The same way Amazon is disrupting the retail space. And so when I looked at this platform and this project, I saw 4 areas that we could really attack a company like Zoom with 300 million daily users. Zoom has a massive target. They're over 50% of the video conferencing market share globally. The first area is price point. At the enterprise level, I was using an enterprise level Zoom, 3 rooms, up to 1,000 people per meeting. And by switching over to our link, 5 rooms, up to 3,000 people per meeting, I cut my cost by over $3,400 a year. Now, my mom at the lowest level can save like $4 a month or something like that. So it's like, and we're in beta, but we will launch a full free version down the road as well to compete with Zoom's free version. But I'm looking at it going, price point's much better. What's also better is presentation side. If somebody says, well, I want to see more about the price points, like, can you show me like how the pricing's set up and how that works? I can actually pull up, this is called a web popper. This is a live web page. Each one of you that's on your own phone or your own laptop, you guys are in control of your screen. You can scroll at your own pace, each person. If you watch the recording, if you're not here live with us and you're watching the recording of this, you can scroll at your own pace and click on buttons and do whatever you want. during the video, like as you're watching the video, this is a live site. You can scroll through, you can control your screen. And so if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see our comparison where for $50 a month, I get 3 times the max attendees, 20 times the storage capacity. Instead of 3 rooms, I got 5 rooms, meaning me and 4 of my executives can use one account at $50 a month. Way more bells and whistles. So price point, we are way stronger than Zoom. When it comes to presenting, certainly I can share screen and go to a PowerPoint, or I can preload slides and just start going through a slideshow that I've built in. And if somebody says, well, we've got a video that's a part of our slideshow, I go, great, we can go right into video.
Do you ever wish you'd
normally
played a part in
with
the tech
Zoom, I would have to
revolution
change my audio
before
setting from
it
microphone
got really
to computer.
big? Like Facebook,
Here, I can just
when it
talk
was a
over
Harvard
the video.
student directory.
I turn the
Amazon
volume down,
and
but
Jeff
if it's
Bezos
bothering people, I can just mute the video. Let it play, I can still talk over it. Normally, I would share screen, change audio settings, wait 5 seconds for a YouTube video to skip the ad, and then I'd start playing the video. Here, I can fast forward, rewind. I can pause if there's a key part. And then if I'm done with the video, I can just hide it and I'm done with the video. And if somebody says, well, this is awesome, like, how do I buy that $50 a month package? I can pull up call to action buttons and people can buy. And again, if you're watching the recording, those buttons are hot, and it can be any industry, any company. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we know through split test that if you can sell and convert inside a platform, it's over 80% more effective than if you go, hey, I'm going to type a link in the chat, click on it, let me know if the website opens up. Can you see it? Click here. Like, that doesn't convert near as well as putting it right inside the platform. And so when it comes to price point, we're so much better. $3,400 a year better for just enterprise level for me. When it comes to presentation and, more importantly, conversion, we're so far superior, so far ahead of them. But then the blockchain gives us a technological advantage that Zoom will never be able to compete with. They might be able to lower their prices someday. Maybe they can add in different, bells and whistles. If you build an international team, I'm going to share screen real quick. This is kind of cool. Let me just share my entire screen, and I don't want to take too much time here. But if you go to, let's see, where's my meeting here? If you go to, let me share one more time. If you go to view on your phone, it's at the bottom right. There's a button that says view. A little menu pops up. On the computer, it's right up at the top middle where I'm at. If you click view, and then on the phone, it's at the bottom right, click view. On the menu, click view captions/translation. And if you do that, you'll start to see English popping up at the bottom of your screen. If you're looking at the presentation mode, you can see it at the bottom of my screen. If you want to see presentation mode, if you click view again and you click active speaker, you'll see a big screen, but I would click presentation mode. Click presentation mode and you'll see my screen bigger, and you'll see English down here at the bottom. And if you go to this little settings wheel, you can choose your caption language. And if I chose, Chinese, let's go traditional, because that's my favorite. All of a sudden, everything in English is now in Chinese. Now, I live in Puerto Rico, so let's say I'm going to choose caption language, and I'm going to make mine in Spanish, United States. All of a sudden, instead of Chinese, now everything's in Spanish. You can pick your language. If you speak a different language, I just did a meeting the other day. I had a guy in Brazil speaking Portuguese. I had a guy in El Salvador speaking Spanish, a guy in Ecuador speaking Spanish. I was speaking English. And then I had a guy with me who was translating for like a minute. And I was like, dude, you don't need to translate. Tell the guy in Brazil to change his spoken language to Portuguese and his caption language to Portuguese. Tell the guys in El Salvador and Ecuador, change their spoken language to Spanish and their caption language to Spanish. And I'll just keep mine in English. And we had a perfect, flawless meeting for 45 minutes got a deal done, and never used a translator. We just read what each other were saying. Now, our AI, we're working on developing voice to where, imagine you chose Chinese and you're hearing my voice speak perfect Chinese and my lips matching up. And Patty chooses Czech and she's hearing my voice in Czech and my lips matching up with what she's hearing. Herb chooses Spanish and he's hearing Spanish and my lips are like, we'll be able to build a global business without ever needing any translation whatsoever. So we're far superior, and I'll stop sharing, to anything Zoom is offering. But with blockchain technology, our community owns the platform. I have no ownership. There's no huge corporation that owns this. And the community voted and said, every paid user owns and controls their own data. See, Zoom's never going to allow that. Just like Patty was talking about, it was March of 2023 through August of 2023, Zoom was sharing everyone's data with their AI. And people got upset, but there was no safe place to go. Like Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, those guys are better at mining data than Zoom is. And so I think humans as society, we've conceded to the fact that Mark Zuckerberg has been listening to me this whole time. Jeff Bezos, Sergey Brin over at Google. And I don't necessarily mind targeted advertising. Like I'd rather see ads for watches and pickleball paddles than dresses and high heels. But I do have a little bit of an issue with Mark Zuckerberg and Bezos and Google making an extra $40 billion a year off all of our data, all of our content, all of our networks. And I felt like if we gave an option to the over 5.5 billion people that are online globally, and we said, listen, you can continue to just have your data stolen and people making billions of dollars off of it, or you can control your data. And if you choose to, you can monetize your data and make money if you want to share it. I felt like all 5.5 billion people would choose to own and control their data and monetize it if they knew they had the option. That's what this platform gives them. We control our data and we can monetize our data. We're still in beta now, but as we come out of beta and we grow, we'll have options to make money by sharing your data. Or you could keep your data fully encrypted inside your wallet. You're the only one with the private key and you never use it. You never open the wallet up and your data never sees the light of day. That's a choice. You could do that. Or you could say, you know what? My data's kind of already out there. Let me make some money off of it. I think most people will probably want to monetize if they have that option. And then the fourth area we hit them is the reward side. I'm earning cryptocurrency. Patty and Herb earn cryptocurrency when we do our meetings. And so I was already doing meetings. I was doing a lot of meetings for my different businesses and I was getting nothing. So if now all of a sudden you say I can get rewarded for doing something that I'm doing anyways, well, I will choose to get rewarded versus choose to not get rewarded. And so that's 4 massive areas that not only are we attacking Zoom, but we're way ahead of them. Better pricing, better presentation and conversion, own your data, get rewarded for using the platform, sharing it with others. Now, there's 2 main ways people can help us grow our community and 2 ways where people might be able to benefit from joining our community. The first is to operate nodes, which is what I should have called my buddy back and done with the Gala Games project. And you can do that. A rally node, rally is what we call our communications blockchain. These meetings, we call them rallies. This platform lives on the Rally blockchain. There'll be other companies that live on the blockchain as well. I actually bought the code for a project that's called Pixa. If this right here is the Zoom killer, I would say Pixa is like the TikTok killer. So instead of our data going to China, like Patty was talking about, I think everybody knows that's where your data goes if you use TikTok. What if you could own and control all your data? And we create a social selling app. So what if this is a lady that sells cupcake recipes or something, and you could click on the shopping cart and pick out the cupcake recipe or buy the cupcakes and have them shipped to you. And then you could use your crypto wallet. It's built in here and you could pay. Or you could use your credit card and it would go into the market and buy the tokens. Because that's one of the things the community did. 100%, the community voted and said 100% of the revenue that comes in goes in to buy the token right out of the open market. It creates buy-side pressure. I say, imagine if every time you checked out on Amazon, if Jeff Bezos made us go buy Amazon stock and then use the stock to check out, the stock price would go up. Whatever, it's a couple $100 a share, it would go up because just supply and demand. More people that have to buy it and want to buy it, the price goes up. Now, they cannot do that in a Web 2 environment. We can do it in a Web 3 environment. That's exactly what we do. And it'll be the first blockchain-based project in the world, really, that has consistent daily revenue going in to create buy-side pressure on the token. Now, I don't know if we'll do what Gala Games did. You know, they $45 billion market cap, still probably close to $1 billion or $2 billion market cap some days now, you know, after crypto winter. They still are a top 100 coin. I'm not saying we're going to beat them or do what they did, but I can tell you this. Over the first real 8 months in beta, we've done over 5 times, and it's closing in on 10 times the revenue that Gala Games did their first 3 years combined. And so our trajectory is very, very strong. What's even crazier, we have more revenue right now than Gala Games has right now. And so I'm looking at this going, I can add users to this platform. I don't know much about, you know, tweeting and making a cryptocurrency go up. I'm not Elon Musk who can tweet once about Dogecoin and the price skyrockets. I'm not that important. But I know I can add 1 million users onto a platform like this. I know Herb and Patty could probably add 3 million users onto a platform like this. People like Lisa. I mean, there's so many amazing people. Bill Hoffman. I mean, there's people here in this meeting that on their own through their networks could add 1 million users onto a platform like this. The question is, who's going to do it? And what's cool is you can get rewarded for it. So you can operate nodes, which is what I should have done with Gala. But you can operate nodes and the nodes will generate tokens as long as you keep them turned on, as long as they're helping to run our blockchain, which we need node owners to run the blockchain network, and you get rewarded for doing it. I kind of say buying cryptocurrencies like buying eggs. If you eat eggs for breakfast and run out, you got to go to the grocery store and buy more eggs. A node is like having a chicken coop in your backyard. You never need to go buy eggs. You just go to the backyard and the chickens are laying eggs and you grab the eggs and that morning you have eggs. Then you go back in the next morning, go to the coop and you grab more eggs, you know? And so the nodes generate about 3,000 tokens per day. There's an NFT that I think the nodes are like 6,200 each or maybe 6,100 each, something like that. So they're not cheap. You can add a boost, and it's called an NFT boost, but it will double your node output for like 6 months. So you can get about 6,000 tokens a day for the next 6 months. And then you can continue to boost and probably get 3,000 a day for the next 6 months after that. We have an annual halving that's getting ready to happen in September. And so not to get too into the blockchain side, but the nodes generate tokens. Those tokens could be worthless. Currently, people can sell them, and people do sell them. I saw somebody sold like 60 grand worth the other day. I think today people have sold maybe 20, 30 grand worth. So not a lot of sellers. Actually, a lot of people are hodling. They're holding on to these tokens, but there's a lot of buyers. I can tell you that there's people that are trying to consistently buy this token out of the market. There's just not a lot of people that want to sell it at the current pricing. But sooner or later, there'll be some price discovery and people will want to sell, and that's fine. You know, the market makes itself kind of. We don't control the market. We're just community members, and our goal is really to just help build the platform. And that's the other way you can help. So you can run nodes that generate tokens, or you can help us build the community. And how you do that? Pretty simple. If you're using Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams, stop. Start using this. Save some money, earn some rewards, and use our platform instead. And your own. It would become your platform. Pretty soon there'll be a vote that the users, you'll pretty much have ownership. just for using the $10 a month platform. You can use your credit card, just swipe the card. Whoever invited you on to the meeting can get you a link where you can literally just put your card information in and pay $10 a month, cancel at any time. But literally you can start getting rewarded for doing meetings, which is probably better than not getting rewarded for doing meetings. And if you're using a paid version, enterprise level, Zoom, Teams, anything like that, I can tell you, you're probably going to save quite a bit of money. And the other thing you can do is bring in other users, bring in other community members, bring in people that maybe want to operate nodes. You can get rewarded in a big, big way for doing that. I have two gentlemen that have basically in the last 4 weeks, I think they've earned for community build over 150 million rally tokens in 4 weeks, which is ridiculous. I think that's almost $500,000 worth right now, which is crazy. They couldn't sell all that today, but they probably sell it over the next few weeks and put $500,000 in their pocket, which is kind of crazy. It's exciting to see, even in beta, the excitement around a real product, a real service that has blockchain technology. And that's really, I think, the key. When grandma swipes her card, puts her card information in, the community voted 100% of the revenue goes in to buy the token. She doesn't need to know that. Grandma doesn't need to understand blockchain, what a MetaMask wallet is, what Uniswap version 4 Coinbase is. She just swipes the card. She just puts the card info in. It charges $10. And then it goes through Uniswap right into the market using our banking blockchain. This is as we come out of beta. This is how the setup is. And it doesn't care what the price of the token is. It doesn't care. And so if I look at, I don't know what the price is today. Let me go look. I'll tell you guys. So right now, and it changes quite a bit, it's 0.0029 cents. It's less than a penny. It's almost a third of a penny. And so if she bought, let's say $10 worth of that token, and she says, I'm gonna buy the $10 platform, that's whatever, 3,400 tokens, 3,442 tokens, something like that. And then that would go right to the community. So she uses her card. In the small print, it's saying, hey, you're buying a digital token that's going to give you your platform. She's not going to care. She knows it's costing her $10 and she gets her platform. It does it seamlessly. It's like when I was in Japan over Christmas, I went skiing up in Japan in Niseko, kind of the Northern Islands. And I was in Tokyo as well. And I almost everywhere we went used my Amex. I didn't care what the dollar to yen ratio was because Amex handled that for me. I just knew I was going to eat some sushi and here's the Amex, and Amex will figure out how many dollars it cost me and the yen, and they got yen, and then I got a bill and I paid it in dollars, So that's kind of how our banking blockchain works. So grandma, her card runs for $10. It buys 3,400 tokens that moment. And our community gets those tokens and says, hey, grandma, thanks for 3,442 tokens. Here's your meeting platform. She got it. There you go. Next month, it automatically charges her card. She can cancel anytime. There's no contract. But let's say she likes the service. It runs her card for $10. Now, let's say we have millions of users all of a sudden. We have a bunch of people that love the project. And now each token's worth $1. Her card gets swiped and it goes into the market and buys 10 tokens. Not 3,442. It only buys 10 tokens. And the 10 tokens go to the community. And the community says, hey, grandma, thanks for the 10 tokens. Just so happens that's how much it costs to get your platform set up. Here you go, 10 tokens worth. That's never happened in blockchain or crypto history. Meaning, anytime I've ever purchased any cryptocurrency, or my companies have, I always look at the price. Like, it's important. I want to know, I don't put a market order in. If somebody said, well, we want to sell Bitcoin for $1 million a coin, and you had a market order in, and that was the only liquidity in the market at that moment, it's possible you could literally buy Bitcoin at $1 million a coin. It would be a huge mistake. So you put what's called a limit order in, and you say, hey, if I'm buying Bitcoin today, I don't want to pay more than 103,000 or whatever it is. You set your limit. Our revenue, the revenue from the company, could care less what the price is. It just knows it needs to go in the market, buy those tokens so grandma can get her platform to talk to her grandkids. That's what it knows. And so we have this consistent buy side pressure coming in on a daily basis. And if you help us build the community, you can actually share in the daily revenue distribution. We own this. The community owns this together. And so I would tell people, if you can get nodes, get some. Now, it's high risk with potential for no reward. It truly is. The tokens, they are worth something now. So you can sell them now, but the tokens could go to zero for all I know. They could go up to 85 cents like Gala Games did. They could go higher than that. I don't control the market. None of us control the market. But one thing I knew I could control was how many people I introduced to this platform and how many users I felt like I could bring on. I could bet on myself. I knew Herb and Patty could bet on themselves. I knew somebody like Lisa and Bill could bet on themselves. And what's cool is all of us coming together, the more entrepreneurs that come into the platform, it's almost like a hive AI mind, where I think the best thing about this project, if I lay an egg and I just can't get it going, and Herb and Patty say, hey, you know, we're going to just go on cruises for the rest of the year because they love cruises, and they made plenty of money and they're going to take cruises. But Bill Hoffman and his wife Julie go, you know what, we're going to go build our link, and they crush it. If me, Herb, and Patty are just chilling on the cruises together and we have a bunch of nodes and have a bunch of tokens, we're going to owe Bill some dinner when we see him and Julie the next time, because we'll be really happy. Because it doesn't matter whether it's us that helps the project, but I know this. I know people like Herb and Patty. I know they're running just as fast as I am. And I know a bunch of us are probably going to help this project along. People like Lisa are going to get it throughout Australia, throughout Southeast Asia. Like, there's so many opportunities for us to really disrupt the video conferencing space. There's going to be massive opportunity to disrupt TikTok. And all that revenue runs through the same Rally blockchain. So my recommendation, if you can afford to get some nodes, again, that's kind of your high risk part of portfolio. You'd have some extra capital to work with. In the United States, it's actually, the software is classified. The node software is classified as off the shelf software in the tax code, the IRS tax code. So I'd say get with your CPAs, get with your tax attorneys. You can take what's called the Section 179 and bonus depreciation on off-the-shelf software. So it could be a pretty big write-off. It was for me in 2023. I didn't live in Puerto Rico. There's some tax advantages I have now that I did not have in 2023. I actually purchased $53 million worth of node software. And I don't recommend anybody do that. There was a lot of reasons I did that. One of the reasons I was looking to offset buy depreciating assets. Every year we would buy depreciating assets and kind of offset income. And just working with our tax attorneys, working with our CPAs, we would do that for every fourth quarter for a decade, you know. And so I was looking to buy depreciating assets. Certainly there were much lower risk options, you know, buying another jet, you know, buying buildings. There's things that you know, kind of guarantee you're going to have pretty good value over the next several years. The nodes I knew could be worth nothing. But I felt like if I could move the needle, which I knew I could, I was kind of stacking the deck in my favor. And I knew the upside was far superior to anything I could do in any other depreciating asset class that I knew existed. And so I would tell you, if you can't afford it, grab some nodes. But more importantly, if you can help us build the community, that's really what we're looking for. And if you can help us as a part of the community, if you can help us with, you know, translation into your native language, if you can help us with the dev teams and that maybe you're a coder, maybe you're a dev side, like people in the community really just kind of have been helping us grow. We know we're not perfect. We know we need to get better, but we have no ego. There's no owners here. We're all working together to make this project better and better. And you can be a big part of it. So I appreciate each and every one of you sharing your time with me this evening. I'll turn it back over to Herb and Patty, and definitely looking forward to hopefully seeing a lot of you on more and more our links. And if all goes well, I'm sure we'll get a chance to meet in person real soon.